You already know the truth, but you've spent years trying to avoid it. No one is coming to save you. Not tomorrow. Not next month. Not when life finally gets easier. If you don't force your transformation, you will wake up one day realizing you have been negotiating with your own potential and losing. Transformation does not wait for permission. It does not begin when you feel ready. It begins the moment you decide you are done living as the weaker version of yourself. And hear me clearly, that decision will cost you your comfort. It will cost you your excuses. It will cost you the man you used to be. But the price of staying the same, that will cost you everything. So in this message, you are not here to feel inspired. You are here to confront yourself, to declare war on the parts of you that have kept you average, hidden, quiet, drifting, waiting. Because if you truly want to rise, you must force the transformation with discipline, with clarity, with the power of a mind that refuses to drift. This is not motivation. This is a mirror. And today, you will face it. Let us begin. Most people never transform, not because they lack potential, but because they keep waiting for a moment that will never come. They wait for clarity. They wait for motivation. They wait for support, for confidence, for the perfect alignment of circumstances. They convince themselves that one day they'll begin. One day they'll show up differently. One day life will feel lighter, calmer, more convenient. And when that day comes, they believe transformation will finally feel possible. But here is the truth. Most people spend their whole lives avoiding. There is no perfect moment. There is only now. The mind loves delay. It loves hesitation. It loves the illusion that tomorrow will somehow be easier than today. But postponement is not protection. It is a quiet form of self-betrayal. Every time you tell yourself later, you train your identity to tolerate inconsistency. Every time you wait for confidence, you strengthen the very weakness you hope to overcome. Waiting is not neutral. Waiting is destructive. Waiting is the slow death of potential. And yet, people cling to waiting because it feels safe. It allows them to imagine a better life without confronting the discomfort required to build it. They daydream about becoming stronger without lifting the weight. They fantasize about success without facing sacrifice. They repeat the stories that soothe their fear. It's not the right season. I'm too overwhelmed. I'm not ready. I need more time. But readiness is not something you wait for. Readiness is something you create. Transformation only begins when you sever the emotional attachment to comfort. There is no breakthrough without disruption. You cannot redesign your life while protecting the habits that built the life you're trying to escape. Progress begins when you stop protecting the weaker version of yourself and start confronting him. The lie of waiting also comes from fear. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of responsibility. But the moment you stop waiting, something powerful happens. Fear becomes fuel. Fear becomes feedback. Fear becomes an invitation to rise rather than an excuse to retreat. This is why Napoleon Hill wrote that every man who succeeds reaches a moment of decision, a moment where he stops negotiating with his limitations and steps into his purpose with finality. Not halfway, not someday. Now, your life will not change when your schedule clears. Your life will not change when people finally support you. Your life will not change when your emotions align. Your life will change when you do. You transform the moment you declare, I am done waiting. I move now. Because action creates clarity, motion creates momentum. Momentum creates identity. And identity creates a life you can no longer drift away from. Think about how many opportunities you've missed because you waited for conditions to be perfect. Think about how many times you silenced your potential because you didn't feel ready. Think about the man you could already be if you had taken action the first time. You felt the pull instead of the 10th. The lie of waiting has stolen enough from you. It has delayed enough of your growth. It has cost you enough of your time. From this moment, you must reject the illusion of right timing. Transformation is not seasonal. It does not appear when you are comfortable. It appears when you take command of your behavior regardless of how you feel. The man who transforms is not the man who waits. He is the man who decides. So ask yourself now with complete honesty, if nothing changes today, when will it, if not now? When, if not you, who? There is only one answer powerful enough to begin your new life. The right time is the moment you stop waiting, and that moment is now. There is a moment in every person's life when the truth finally hits them with full force. No one is coming. No one is coming to lift you out of your habits. No one is coming to rescue you from the life you've tolerated. No one is coming to hand you discipline, confidence, clarity, or direction. And for many people, this realization feels harsh. But for those who decide to rise, it becomes the most liberating truth they will ever face. Because as long as you believe someone else will fix it, you won't. The world is filled with men waiting for a savior, waiting for a mentor, a miracle, a burst of motivation, a perfect opportunity. They wait for external rescue because they're afraid of internal responsibility. Something inside them hopes that if they wait long enough, someone will give them permission to change, or even better, do the changing for them. But no transformation can begin until you accept the full weight of this truth. Your life is your responsibility, entirely, completely, unapologetically. Your habits are yours. Your results are yours. Your environment is yours. Your lack of discipline is yours. Your potential is yours. And that means your transformation is also yours. You cannot outsource the work required to become the man you claim you want to be. Coaches can guide you. Mentors can inspire you. Books can influence you. And videos like this can ignite you, but none of them can do the work for you. The world can show you the path, but only you can walk it. And here's the deeper truth: the moment you stop expecting others to carry you, your strength begins to grow. The moment you stop blaming your past, your parents, your circumstances, the economy, the algorithm, the timing, your power returns. Responsibility is not a burden. It is a transfer of power, because if it's on you, then you can fix it. If it's on you, then you can rebuild it. If it's on you, then you can rise from it. Waiting for rescue makes you weak. Taking responsibility makes you unstoppable. People rarely lack potential. They lack ownership. They are not short on dreams. They are short on follow-through. They are not missing opportunity. They are missing the courage to look in the mirror and say, if my life is not where I want it to be, it's because I have allowed it to stay this way. That level of honesty feels brutal at first, but it becomes freedom, because the moment you accept you are the problem, you also accept you are the solution. You stop begging for circumstances to improve. You stop hoping for someone to notice your potential. You stop waiting for applause, encouragement, or permission. You rise out of the passive posture of expectation and into the active posture of creation. This is the foundation of personal power. You become the source of discipline, the source of confidence, the source of structure, the source of purpose. Napoleon Hill taught that every great achievement begins with a single decision, a decision made by the individual alone, often in silence, often without support, often against the expectations of everyone who knew the old version of him. Transformation always begins with isolation before it becomes inspiration. You must be willing to lead yourself before anyone else will follow your example. So understand this: no mentor is coming to build your habits. No friend is coming to silence your excuses. No opportunity is coming to replace your laziness. No miracle is coming to rewrite your identity. This is your job, your duty, your responsibility. And that is why your transformation will be real, because you are not waiting for someone to save you. You are saving yourself. Every transformation requires a funeral, not for your body, not for your dreams, but for the version of you that can no longer be allowed to live. The man you have been, the one who hesitates, who bargains with discipline, who postpones growth, who chooses comfort over conviction, must die for the man you are becoming to survive. This is the part no one warns you about. Transformation isn't a glow-up. It isn't a motivational high. It isn't a streak of perfect days. Transformation feels like death before it feels like rebirth. Because you are not adjusting a few habits, you are demolishing an identity. You are dismantling the mental architecture built from years of excuses, avoidance, fear, and automatic behaviors. You are walking away from the person you have known your entire life, and the mind does not let go easily. The old self is clever. He will negotiate. He will plead. He will try to convince you that staying the same is safer, easier, more familiar. He will tell you, just this once. He will whisper, you've done enough today. He will repeat, you can start again tomorrow. But understand this: your old self is not your friend. He is your enemy. He is the very force that kept you average, hidden, inconsistent, unfulfilled. And when you begin to rise, he will fight harder because he senses he's losing control. This is why transformation feels chaotic at first. Your old identity begins collapsing while your new identity is not fully formed yet. You exist in a psychological in-between state, caught between who you were and who you are becoming. It is uncomfortable. It is disorienting. It is lonely, but it is necessary. You cannot become disciplined while protecting the part of you that loves shortcuts. You cannot become confident while feeding the part of you that clings to approval. You cannot become unstoppable while tolerating the part of you that quits. Napoleon Hill taught that all growth requires sacrifice, but the greatest sacrifice is not time, money, or comfort. The greatest sacrifice is the surrender of identity, the willingness to let go of the man who kept you small. And make no mistake, he will not go quietly. You must kill the part of you that lives for distraction. Kill the part that worships comfort. Kill the part that drowns in comparison. Kill the part that makes excuses dressed as logic. This destruction is not cruelty, it is preparation. Because when the old self dies, space is created for something new, a stronger mind, a clearer identity, a disciplined lifestyle, a purpose-driven future. But death must come first. And here's the truth most people never understand. The pain you feel during transformation is not punishment. It is the tearing away of the false identity you've outgrown. It is your mind shedding the layers that no longer serve your highest self. The panic you feel, that's your old self losing power. The confusion you feel, that's your identity shifting. The pressure you feel, that's your potential expanding. Transformation is war, but the battlefield is internal. Your enemy is internal. Your victory is internal. Once the old self collapses, everything changes. Your decisions sharpen. Your standards rise. Your environment shifts. You begin acting like the man you once only imagined. You begin honoring your word because you finally respect yourself. You begin doing the hard things without negotiation because you know ease is the enemy of excellence. And one day, quietly, suddenly, you will notice something miraculous. You no longer recognize the man you used to be. That is the moment transformation becomes real. But it all begins with this question: what part of you must die for the new you to live? Transformation is not a peaceful process. It is not gentle, not quiet, not graceful. It is a war, a relentless, daily confrontation between the man you are and the man you are destined to become. And like any war, it demands casualties, sacrifices, and victories earned inch by inch, not given. Most people never transform because they are not prepared for resistance. They expect growth to feel inspiring. They expect discipline to feel natural. They expect progress to feel exciting. They expect their environment to support them and their emotions to cooperate. But transformation destroys illusions quickly, because the moment you commit to change, life tests that commitment. You will lose sleep. You will feel misunderstood. You will feel alone even in a room full of people. You will doubt yourself. You will question your decisions. You will wonder whether you're doing the right thing. People will misread you, criticize you, laugh at you, or call you delusional, and none of it means you're on the wrong path. In fact, it is proof you are on the right one. You are waging war against years, sometimes decades of patterns that have ruled your life. You are fighting neural pathways built from comfort, pleasure, and familiarity. Your old self will not surrender easily. He will weaponize your emotions. He will try to overwhelm your mind with fatigue, fear, and frustration. You will face internal battles long before you see external wins. This is why transformation feels messy. You're breaking cycles. You're disrupting habits. You're tearing down the architecture of a life built around ease and avoidance. War is never tidy. Growth is never convenient. And still you must keep going. Napoleon Hill believed every man who rises must go through what he called a testing period, where adversity strikes hardest directly after a definite decision has been made. Why? Because adversity reveals sincerity. It exposes whether your decision is a passing desire or a permanent declaration. Transformation demands evidence. Your actions become the proof. Every morning you rise early when your body begs for rest. You are fighting the war. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you are fighting the war. Every moment you override emotion with purpose, you are fighting the war. Every time you stay committed, even when progress is invisible, you are winning the war. Most men quit not because they lack strength, but because they misunderstand the process. They think resistance means something is wrong. They think discomfort means they're failing. They think obstacles mean they should turn back. But in transformation, resistance is confirmation. Discomfort is progress. Obstacles are the assignment. You are learning to carry weight others refuse to lift. You are strengthening parts of yourself you didn't know existed. You are becoming someone capable of handling responsibilities you once would have run from. And here's the most important truth. You are not in a war with the world. You are in a war with your limitations. And every day you show up, especially on the days you don't feel like it, you weaken the grip of the old self. There will be days where you feel like you're losing, days where nothing works, days where discipline feels heavy, days where your mind tries to pull you back to comfort. These days matter the most, because transformation doesn't happen when you feel strong. It happens when you feel weak and move anyway. It happens when you want to quit but take one more step. It happens when you feel alone but keep your promise. The war of transformation is not won by the loudest, the fastest, or the most talented. It is won by the man who refuses to surrender, the man who endures the discomfort, withstands the pressure, and keeps marching forward even when no one believes in him, not even himself. Victory is not a moment. Victory is a pattern. And this war is shaping you into a man who can no longer be denied. There comes a point in every man's transformation where he must confront a brutal truth. Emotions cannot be trusted, not because emotions are wrong, but because they are inconsistent, unstable, and easily manipulated by habit, fatigue, fear, and environment. If you build a life on emotion, your life becomes unpredictable. If you build it on discipline, your life becomes unstoppable. Emotion wants comfort. Discipline wants progress. Emotion wants pleasure now. Discipline wants results later. Emotion looks for the easy path. Discipline creates the right path. This is the dividing line between the man who transforms and the man who repeats cycles. The man controlled by emotion is a slave to the temporary. He wakes up when he feels like it. He works out when he's motivated. He takes action when the timing feels right. He waits for inspiration, approval, and certainty. His entire life becomes reactive. He moves only when conditions are perfect, which means he rarely moves at all. The disciplined man understands something deeper. Your feelings are not instructions. They are impulses, signals, noise. They are not meant to steer your life. They are meant to be observed, acknowledged, and overridden when necessary. Discipline, not emotion, is the architect of transformation. When you choose discipline, you begin to build a new internal order. You no longer ask, "Do I feel like doing this?" Instead, you ask, "Does this align with the man I am becoming?" That one question removes 90% of your excuses. It shifts your identity from a passive reactor to an active creator. It prevents your old patterns from pulling you backward into comfort. Discipline is the great equalizer. You don't need talent to start. You don't need confidence to begin. You don't need support, perfect conditions, or emotional harmony. All you need is a standard, a line you refuse to cross, and the courage to enforce it daily, especially when emotions try to negotiate. And they will. Your emotions will tempt you. They will bargain with you. They will whisper stories that sound reasonable, compassionate, even responsible. Just rest today. You've earned it. Tomorrow will be a better day to start. You're too tired, too stressed, too overwhelmed. No one will notice if you skip this one time. But discipline notices. Your identity notices. Your future notices. Because every decision reinforces who you are becoming. Every time you honor your standard, your self-respect grows. Every time you break it, your old self regains power. Discipline is not about being perfect. It is about being consistent. Missing one day isn't the problem. Justifying it is. The moment you let emotion create a loophole, discipline fractures, and fractured discipline collapses quickly. To transform, you must view discipline not as punishment, but as protection. It shields you from your weaker impulses. It guards your purpose. It keeps you aligned when emotions try to detour you into comfort. Discipline is the structure that holds your transformation in place long enough for new identity to form. The strongest men in history were not the ones who felt the most fearless or inspired. They were the ones who acted regardless of emotion. Napoleon Hill wrote that success belongs to the man who acts whether he is ready or not. That is discipline. That is transformation. It's the understanding that emotion may influence the moment, but discipline shapes the future. And with time, something powerful happens. The things that once required immense discipline become your new nature. Waking early becomes automatic. Working through discomfort becomes normal. Saying no to distractions becomes effortless. You stop forcing discipline and start embodying it. The man you once had to fight to become becomes the only version of you that exists. This is the miracle of discipline. It doesn't just change your behavior, it rewires your identity. It turns temporary effort into permanent transformation. It creates a man who can no longer be moved by emotion, temptation, or circumstance. A man who moves only by principle, purpose, and vision. And that man, the disciplined man, is dangerous because nothing can stop him. Not fear, not doubt, not fatigue, not emotion. He chooses his path, and then he walks it daily. This is how transformation is forced. This is how greatness is built. Pressure is not your enemy. In fact, it is the greatest ally of the man who seeks transformation. Pressure is the environment where weakness is exposed and strength is constructed. Most people run from pressure because they misunderstand its purpose. They believe pressure is a sign they are failing. In reality, pressure is the sign that you are entering territory your old self cannot survive. And that is exactly the point. Pressure reveals who you are. Discipline shapes who you become. And resistance builds the strength to remain that new person permanently. When you begin forcing transformation, you will notice something almost immediately. Life pushes back. Your old habits push back. Your emotions push back. Your environment pushes back. Resistance appears everywhere. This is not punishment. It is confirmation. It means the process is working. Transformation creates friction because your old identity is losing control. The discomfort you feel is not a warning. It is a birth pang. The average man collapses under this pressure. He interprets difficulty as a signal to stop, to slow down, to wait for conditions to improve. But the uncommon man, the man willing to transform, does the opposite. He moves toward pressure. He stays when others retreat. He advances when others freeze. He understands that pressure is not a barrier, but a catalyst. The truth is simple. You will never know your power until pressure demands you use it. Think about every powerful structure in the world. Steel is forged under heat. Diamonds are formed under immense pressure. Muscles grow through resistance. Mountains rise from tectonic force. Nothing strong is formed gently. Nothing excellent is created comfortably. Your transformation is no different. If you try to avoid pressure, you avoid the very process designed to elevate you. When life applies pressure, it is asking you a question. How badly do you want the man you say you want to become? Pressure forces clarity. When your emotions are screaming, when your mind feels exhausted, when quitting seems reasonable, the real motives surface. Are you pursuing transformation because it sounds inspiring, or because you have made a decision that cannot be reversed? Pressure strips away convenience and exposes commitment. It reveals whether your desire is a preference or a vow. Most people fail not because they lack ability, but because they lack pressure tolerance. They never trained themselves to operate under intensity. So the moment life becomes difficult, their discipline dissolves. They stop not because they are incapable, but because they are uncomfortable. But if you can learn to remain calm under pressure, if you can breathe, think, and act while others panic, you become dangerous. You become someone life cannot break. You become someone your old self cannot manipulate. You become a man who can execute even when circumstances are hostile. Emotions are unstable and outcomes are uncertain. This is the mindset of a builder. The pressure is not a threat. It is data, feedback, a signal that you are on the edge of becoming someone new. Rather than fleeing discomfort, you use it as leverage. You use fatigue to sharpen focus. You use resistance to build resilience. You use setbacks to develop strategy. You use emotional chaos to strengthen mental order. Pressure doesn't stop you. Pressure refines you. And the day will come when the pressure that once intimidated you becomes the very field where you dominate. You will begin to seek challenges instead of avoiding them. You will volunteer for the difficult assignments. You will step into situations others fear, not because you enjoy suffering, but because you understand what it produces: capacity, clarity, confidence, and unshakable internal power. Your transformation will never be complete until you master pressure, until you learn to operate with calm aggression, until you develop the awareness that pressure is not a test you must survive, but a tool you must leverage. When you stop fearing pressure and start commanding it, your life shifts, your possibilities expand, your identity hardens into something unbreakable, and when resistance rises, you will no longer see it as a reason to retreat. You will recognize it as the birthplace of the man you are becoming, a man forged, not harmed by pressure. Transformation is not an upgrade, it is a funeral, a burial of the version of you that kept you small, scared, inconsistent, and unfulfilled. Most men never transform because they refuse to confront the truth. The old self must die for the new self to live. You cannot negotiate with him. You cannot slowly coach him into improvement. He must be eliminated. The old self, the comfortable self, has been with you for years. He knows your weaknesses. He knows the excuses you believe. He knows exactly what to whisper when you're tired, when you're stressed, when you're uncertain. He speaks the language of comfort. Take a break. You've done enough. Tomorrow will be better. You don't need to push this hard. He sounds kind. He sounds reasonable. But he is the enemy of your future. The old self is not evil. He is simply familiar. He was built during seasons of survival, not seasons of purpose. He was built to protect you, not elevate you. But protection becomes prison when you outgrow its walls. And if you try to bring the old self into your new life, he will sabotage every bit of progress you make. You cannot transform while tolerating his presence. Real transformation begins with a ruthless decision. I will no longer allow the weaker version of myself to participate in my life. This is not metaphorical. This is literal. You must starve him of attention. You must refuse to let him speak unchecked. You must deny him access to your time, your focus, your habits, your identity, because he will not go quietly. He will bargain. He will negotiate. He will promise you balance, comfort, moderation. He will tell you that discipline is too extreme, that consistency is unrealistic, that excellence is unnecessary. And every time you listen, he grows stronger. You eliminate the old self by eliminating the behaviors that keep him alive. The late mornings, the scrolling, the excuses, the fake urgency, the emotional impulses, the promises you break. Every destructive pattern is oxygen to the old identity. Remove the oxygen, and he suffocates. But elimination is not only about subtraction, it is about replacement. You replace hesitation with decisive action. You replace distraction with structure. You replace emotional reactions with commitments. You replace wishful thinking with discipline. Even when you feel nothing, identity is not discovered. Identity is built. Every choice either reinforces the old self or constructs the new one. And transformation demands you choose the new identity long before it feels natural, long before it feels easy, long before you believe you deserve it. The old self survives through emotion. The new self emerges through decision. When you feel resistance, that is the old self pleading for life. When you feel fear, that is the old self begging for comfort. When you feel doubt, that is the old self questioning your future. Do not negotiate. Do not justify. Do not explain. Destroy him by refusing to return to the patterns that built him. One day, not immediately, not dramatically, but quietly, you will wake up and notice something incredible. You no longer think like the old you. You no longer react like the old you. You no longer crave what the old you craved. That is the moment you realize he is gone, and the man standing in his place, disciplined, aligned, focused, is a man you built with intention, a man the old self could never become. Discipline is not something you try. It is something you become. Most men fail because they treat discipline like a mood, something to activate when they feel inspired, and abandon when life becomes inconvenient. But real discipline is identity. It is architecture. It is the invisible structure that shapes everything you become. Transformation demands a new blueprint, not a new burst of motivation. The blueprint begins with this truth: discipline is a system, not a feeling. If your life is built on emotion, your life will collapse the moment difficulty arrives. But if your life is built on systems, clear standards, non-negotiable routines, strict boundaries, your identity becomes untouchable. Your morning is where the blueprint begins. The first hour of your day must belong to the man you are building, not the man you used to be. This is not symbolic. It is strategic. When you wake up and immediately check messages, scroll, react, and consume, you are training your brain to follow, not to lead. You are teaching your identity to drift. But when you begin in silence, intention, and structure, something powerful happens. Your mind starts taking orders from you. A disciplined morning doesn't need to be complicated. It needs to be consistent. Wake up, breathe, be still, set intention, speak identity, move your body, and protect your mental environment before the world gets access to you. This is not ritual, it is psychological warfare. You are telling your brain, we operate on command now. The second element of the discipline blueprint is environmental engineering. Your environment must support your standards, not challenge them. If distractions are within reach, you will reach for them. If chaos surrounds you, chaos enters you. If the people around you tolerate mediocrity, you will too. Discipline requires you to design a world that reinforces your new identity. Remove what weakens you. Add what strengthens you. It's not emotional, it's architectural. Clean your space. Structure your time. Control your digital life. Limit noise. Guard your attention as if your future depends on it, because it does. A man cannot rise in an environment built for his downfall. Next, the blueprint demands identity language. Words are not decoration, they are direction. Every day, you must declare who you are becoming, not based on who you've been, but who you've chosen to be. Your subconscious listens. It obeys repetition. If you speak like the old self, you will live like the old self. Speak discipline into your identity. I execute regardless of emotion. I keep my word to myself. I do what needs to be done. I finish what I start. Repetition creates belief. Belief transforms identity. Identity shapes behavior. Behavior builds results, and results reinforce belief. This loop is the engine of transformation. The fourth component of the discipline blueprint is emotional neutrality. Discipline is not about feeling strong. It is about acting without allowing emotion to dictate the action. You do not wait for motivation. You do not wait for clarity. You do not wait for comfort. You move because movement is required. You execute because execution is identity. Emotions are weather. Discipline is climate. Weather changes daily. Climate defines the environment. The final element of the blueprint is the standard. Not goals, not dreams, not intentions. Standards. Goals create direction. Standards create identity. Your standard must be non-negotiable. What time you wake up, what you consume, what you tolerate, what you commit to, what you finish. A man's transformation is not determined by what he wants. It is determined by what he refuses to compromise. This discipline blueprint is not glamorous. It is not loud. It is not instantly rewarding. But if you follow it daily, relentlessly, unapologetically, your future will shift. Your identity will harden. Your old self will suffocate. Your new self will rise with structure instead of chaos, with decision instead of hesitation, with purpose instead of drift. This is the architecture of a transformed man, not built by chance, built by discipline. Excuses are not harmless. They are self-imposed laws, silent rules you've allowed to govern your life. Every excuse you repeat becomes a legal contract with mediocrity. I'm tired. I'm stressed. I'll do it later. It's not the right time. These aren't random thoughts. They are the constitutional documents of the weaker version of you. And until you destroy these internal laws, transformation is impossible. Excuses are seductive because they sound reasonable. They use logic to justify stagnation. They make failure feel acceptable. They protect your comfort while quietly murdering your potential. But the man who transforms understands a harsh truth. Excuses are lies told by the old self to remain alive. To destroy excuses, you must first expose their origins. Excuses are rooted in fear, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of judgment, fear of discomfort, but fear does not announce itself honestly. It disguises itself as rationality. It whispers, "Be careful," when you need courage. It warns, "This isn't the right moment," when the moment is already here. It says, "You're not ready," when readiness is built only through action. The first step in destroying excuses is ruthless honesty. Not blaming circumstances, not blaming timing, not blaming people. Honesty that strikes like a blade. I am the one choosing this, and I am the one who must stop. This moment of honesty is painful because it removes all escape routes, but it is liberating because it gives your power back. When you admit you are the barrier, you simultaneously admit you are the solution. The second step is rewriting your internal law. Every transformed man lives by a personal constitution, rules he obeys regardless of feelings. Circumstances or public approval. These rules are simple but powerful. I finish what I start. I do what I said I'd do. My standards are not negotiable. My feelings are irrelevant to my commitments. This is not self-help. This is self-governance. When you adopt new internal laws, excuses lose jurisdiction. They are no longer valid arguments. They are dismissed from your identity the same way a judge dismisses a case lacking evidence. But rewriting internal law requires repetition. You cannot declare new standards once and expect the old ones to vanish. The weaker self has decades of practice. You have habits that have been reinforced thousands of times. So every day becomes a courtroom where you must reinforce your new laws. When you don't feel like waking up early, internal law. When you don't feel like training, internal law. When you want to procrastinate, internal law. When you want to justify quitting, internal law. The man who transforms is not the man who feels powerful. He is the man who obeys the laws he wrote for himself. The third step in destroying excuses is controlled exposure. You must put yourself into situations that require execution even when you don't feel ready. You must train your nervous system to understand that discomfort is not danger. Most men treat discomfort like a red light. The transformed man treats it like a green light, permission to advance. Every time you act when your excuses tell you not to, you weaken them. Every time you execute while uncomfortable, you rewrite identity. Every time you do the hard thing, you sculpt the new self into existence. Excuses cannot survive consistent contradiction. The final step is separation. You must remove the environments, the people, the routines, and the mindsets that feed excuses. Excuses thrive in noise, chaos, distraction, and weak company. They suffocate in clarity. Surround yourself with structure, and your excuses will starve. Surround yourself with standards, and your excuses will die. Surround yourself with men who live without compromise, and your excuses will fade into irrelevance. The man who destroys excuses becomes unstoppable not because his life gets easier, but because his mind becomes unbreakable. When excuses no longer have power, resistance no longer has meaning, you stop negotiating with your old self and start executing with precision. And in that moment, transformation accelerates fast, deep, irreversible. There comes a moment in every true transformation when the shift is no longer fragile, no longer dependent on motivation, no longer threatened by emotion, no longer shaken by the opinions of others. A moment when the man you are becoming is no longer an idea, but an identity. And once this shift occurs, it is irreversible. Identity is the final battlefield. Not habits, not goals, not discipline alone. Identity. Because you will always act in alignment with who you believe you are. The old you lived in contradiction, wanting greatness but behaving like a man who feared it. Wanting success but adopting the patterns of someone who wasn't ready for responsibility. Wanting transformation but still protecting the very habits that prevented it. But transformation becomes permanent the moment you update the internal blueprint of who you are. The irreversible shift begins with self-respect, not the soft, emotional kind, the hard, earned kind, the kind that forms when you keep your word day after day, when you rise early, not for aesthetics but for alignment, when you train your mind to act while tired, to execute while unsure, to move while uncomfortable. This repetition builds a new truth within you. I do what I say I will do. Once this belief becomes internal law, your identity changes. And when identity changes, behavior becomes effortless. The man who sees himself as disciplined does not struggle to be disciplined. The man who sees himself as a builder does not negotiate with laziness. The man who sees himself as a leader does not drift through life waiting for direction. Identity creates automaticity, but identity must be reinforced through friction. Real shift does not happen on days when conditions are perfect. It happens when everything inside you wants to return to comfort and you refuse. Every time you override emotion with execution, the old identity cracks. Every time you stay consistent while no one is watching, the new identity solidifies. Every time you do the hard thing instead of the easy thing, the new blueprint deepens. There is always a breaking point, a moment when the old self realizes he no longer has authority. This moment is rarely dramatic. It's quiet, subtle. A day when you wake up and realize you no longer argue with yourself. You no longer negotiate with excuses. You no longer consider quitting an option. You simply do the work because it is who you are now. The irreversible identity shift is also marked by rejection of your old environments, old conversations, old habits, old influences, not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. The man you are becoming cannot breathe in the atmosphere that built the man you used to be. You outgrow people. You outgrow patterns. You outgrow versions of yourself. And while this feels uncomfortable, it is the clearest sign transformation is taking hold. You no longer tolerate what the old self tolerated. You no longer desire what the old self desired. You no longer see the world through the same lens. Your standards become your oxygen. Your boundaries become your armor. Your mission becomes your compass. And with this shift comes an unexpected reward peace. Not the weak peace that comes from avoiding discomfort, but the deep, stable, unshakable peace that comes from living in integrity. For the first time, you are no longer at war with yourself. Your thoughts, your words, your actions, your values aligned, your purpose, your effort, your identity aligned, your future, your present, your direction aligned. This is the highest form of power a man can possess, because once you become the man who lives in alignment, you cannot go back. You cannot unsee your potential. You cannot unknow your strength. You cannot shrink into the costume of the weaker self. The shift is permanent. And from this point forward, your life stops being a reaction and becomes a creation. You did not stumble into this identity. You built it. You fought for it. You bled for it. You earned it. And now you must protect it with everything you have. If you've come this far, then hear me clearly. You are no longer the man you used to be. Not after this. Not after choosing discipline over emotion, purpose over comfort, and identity over excuses. Transformation is no longer a theory in your mind. It is a command written into your spirit. But remember this, the world will not hand you greatness. Life will not open doors out of pity. No one is coming to save you. You are the rescue. You are the plan. You are the force. And from today forward, every decision you make is either feeding the man you are becoming or the man you've buried. Choose wisely. Choose deliberately. Choose the future that demands the most of you, not the one that tolerates your weakness. You are powerful. You are capable. You are responsible. And you are ready. Now take that readiness and turn it into action. Take that action and turn it into momentum. Take that momentum and turn it into a life that makes your old self impossible to recognize. Do not wait. Do not hesitate. Do not negotiate. Force the transformation every single day. The man you are becoming is watching. Make him proud. If this message awakens something in you, don't let it fade. Lock in. Stay with us. We are building a brotherhood of disciplined men who refuse to drift. Subscribe to Hill Mindset Legacy. Join the movement. Comment, "I choose transformation," to declare your commitment. Like and share so this message reaches someone who needs it today. Watch the next video to continue your shift in identity. This is your time. This is your season. This is your transformation. And remember, no one will do it for you, but we will walk this journey with you.